everyone, I am Sammy, your devoted manga otaku, and welcome to my manga space. Today, I will be discussing my top 10 5-star reads in 2021. I actually had quite a few series reach a 5-star rating, but in order to keep this video on the shorter side, I condensed the list to 10. I will be quickly mentioning the other 5-star series at the beginning of this video as part of my honorable mentions. Furthermore, if you ever want a quick look at my manga ratings, you can always check out my Goodreads. The link is in the description below. And there I update my reads and ratings monthly. And with that, I invite you to grab a coffee or other beverage of your choice, and let's talk manga. Let's start with the autobiographical manga, My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness by Nagata Kabi. This is a beautiful memoir of Nagata Kabi's general search for identity, self-worth, and happiness. It outlines their struggles with mental illness and queer sexuality without sugarcoating their experiences, no matter how embarrassing or uncomfortable they may be. The entire book is about this person bearing their soul to you while chronicling their crippling bouts with depression, anxiety, eating disorders, and self-harm. I really appreciated Kabe-sensei's honesty and vulnerability. It was surprisingly relatable, and I felt like I was discovering things about myself while reading it. It's the kind of narrative that works to start discussions about sex and mental illness, to undo shame and build compassion. I think everyone should read this manga as long as you are able to tolerate the subject matter. Next up is a shorter series that actually serves as a prequel to an even larger series, and that's the shoujo series QQ Sweeper by Kyosuke Motumi. I actually went into this manga with low expectations because I'm not a big fan of stories with supernatural elements, but this series blew me away. Motumi sensei balances the romantic, mysterious, and thrilling elements of this story beautifully. It's a strong introduction to an interesting concept for a supernatural story. The characters are amazing and well developed, and the chemistry between the main protagonists is chef's kiss. Plus, the illustrations are stunning. Motumi sensei does a wonderful job capturing mood in her illustrations. I'm currently reading the sequel, Queen's Quality, and I'm happy to report that it too is blowing me away. And then we have a graphic novel that I actually read to my kids, and that's the charming and Disney-esque fairy tale, The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. This is the kind of story that really just warms your heart while sharing beautiful messages about identity, being true to yourself, friendship, and acceptance. It's a hopeful and uplifting story about celebrating people's differences, accepting people's gender identity, and standing up against discrimination and bullying. Both my kids and I absolutely adored this book, and I recommend it to both children and adults alike. I will note that this book contains both queer phobia and a publicly forced outing scene, in case that's triggering for you. Up next is a manga that I read quite a while ago, and that's the shoujo series Something's Wrong with Us by Natsumi Ando. I really enjoyed this thrilling romance murder mystery manga. It's a real page turner, and there is never a dull moment with this. I'm fond of the characters, they are interesting and mysterious, and I like that the main villain is someone that you love to hate. A lot of the panels focus on the characters' actions and emotions, making this a super quick read. Additionally, I find Ando sensei's art style and attention to detail breathtaking, especially the illustrations of wagashi. They always look so tasty. The series is picking up again this year, so now is the perfect time to check it out. Now I need to mention a short story that I read fairly recently thanks to the publisher Starfruit Books, who generously gifted me a digital copy, and that's Toki by Ahara Tetsuya. This incredibly unique manga takes place in Japan in 1959 and follows a midwife working in a small rural village. I'm fascinated by pregnancy and childbirth, so this was right up my alley, and I found the manga was very realistic and informative on those subjects. I really connected to Toki. I thought her backstory was moving, and I love how we get to see her inner thoughts when it comes to the midwifery duties. Also, the art is very good, and the newborns are drawn realistically, which I really appreciate. If you're interested in checking it out, you can buy it through Starfruit Books' website. I'll leave a link in the description below. And for the last of the honorable mentions, we have The Way of the House Husband by Kosuke Ono. Ono. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name. This hilarious and episodic manga is about a retired Yakuza boss becoming the ultimate house husband, and even though the story is essentially telling the same gag over and over again, it never feels repetitive and the comedy is always fresh. This series never ceases to be entertaining, and the art style complements the story well. The characters' expressions are iconic, and the food is mouth-watering. If you like quick reads, scary Yakuza misunderstandings, and hilarious shenanigans, this might be for you. Okay, now we're going to get into my top 10 5-star reads of 2021, and we're gonna go ahead and kick it off with the seinen series, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, story by Yoro Sumino and art by Izumi Hirahara. Both volumes of the series are contained within this omnibus issue. There is a light novel as well as an anime movie, but I've only ever read the manga. This bittersweet romance story follows an introverted high school boy whose name is actually a spoiler, but he ends up befriending his extroverted classmate Sakura because he accidentally learns her secret. She's been silently suffering from a pancreatic disease. I really love the themes in this story. It's a beautifully written exploration of friendship, life, and death. It's about enjoying the happy moments in life, how making meaningful connections to others is an important part of living, and it's constantly reminding you to appreciate being alive. I adored the characters in this series. They were well developed and relatable, and just watching their relationship evolve into this unbreakable bond of love and friendship was really, really special. Furthermore, this is probably one of the saddest manga I've ever read. And to say I was emotionally drained after reading this is an understatement. It's an impactful story with a heck of a gut punch in the end. Even the ominous tone and foreshadowing in the first chapter failed to prepare me for the heartbreak. The expressive art combined with these pure lovable characters and valuable lessons makes this story unforgettable, much like the title of the manga itself. I highly recommend you check this out. Just be prepared to have your heart shattered and have some tissues ready. Up next, we have to talk about A Sign of Affection by Sue Morishita, which is a fairly new series on the market. It debuted physically in February 2021, and there are 3 volumes available in English. This shoujo romance is an opposites attract type of love story between 2 young individuals in college, Yuki and Itsuomi. Yuki has been deaf all her life, and Itsuomi takes an interest in how Yuki communicates through sign language, while Yuki takes an interest in learning about Itsuomi's travels and experiences abroad. The couple grows closer as they slowly inch their way into each other's world. I truly adore the romance in this series. It's somewhat of a slow burn, but there's a mature gentleness to it, and it gives you the warmest, fuzziest feelings. I appreciate that this series focuses on the importance of communication, a theme that I see in many modern manga nowadays. I think the characters are wonderful, multi-dimensional beings who are extremely likable and genuine. I really love Yuki. She's a sweetheart, and even though she's shy, she's brave enough to ask questions and give honest answers. I respect Morishita Sensei's dedication to researching Japanese Sign Language so that it can be better portrayed in this manga. I love how the fonts change depending on the type of communication conveyed, like lip reading for example, and I found the additional information and resources in the afterword to be super interesting. This is definitely one of the cutest things I've read this year, which is a little surprising. I assumed there'd be more spiciness since it's rated 16+. Nevertheless, I still thoroughly enjoyed it. The visuals are gorgeous, the covers are beautiful, and I'm fully invested in the story and the characters. I'm highly anticipating the next volume, and you should definitely check it out if you love shoujo and you love romance. This next series is another manga that showcases healthy communication, and that's the seinen series Sweat and Soap by Kintetsu Yamada. There are currently 10 volumes released in English, and the finale is being released this month actually. I recently actually got the shipping notification from Indigo that my copy is on the way, and I'm so excited. This slice of life rom-com follows Asako and Kotaro, who both work at a soap company. Asako works in accounting and Kotaro is a soap developer. One day, Kotaro gets a whiff of Asako's scent and just can't get enough of it, but Asako has a lot of anxiety regarding how she smells and how much she sweats. Despite this bizarre premise, what follows is a delightful and heartwarming story about two people navigating a healthy, sometimes awkward relationship built on mutual love, trust, and respect. This is one of the most surprising manga I read in 2021, but not because I didn't think it wouldn't be good. I thought this was going to be a smutty, guilty pleasure read surrounding a smell fetish, but what I got was so much more than that. This series follows Kotaro and Asako's relationship from the beginning. You watch as these characters fall in love, introduce each other to friends and family, celebrate milestones, and generally change each other's lives. I really connected to the characters. There is some fantastic character development in this series, especially in Asako. It's satisfying to watch as she builds confidence within herself while also realizing her self-worth. Kotaro is pretty amazing as well. I love how supportive and respectful he is. Lastly, Yamada Sensei's artwork is quirky and playful, and it captures the awkward and charming personalities of the leads beautifully. Plus the spicy scenes are tastefully drawn. This series has been really great thus far, and I'm sad to see it end, but happy I got to experience it. If you enjoy romances that stay clear of high stakes or excessive drama, but instead paint a realistic and mature relationship, I recommend that you check this out. Alrighty, this next series is actually a shonen, and I didn't read much shonen in 2021, but I really enjoyed this series, and that's Spy Family by Tetsuya Endo. This is an ongoing series. It has 8 volumes available in Japan, with 6 currently available in English. It's about a master spy named Twilight, whose biggest mission yet requires him to obtain a family. Although difficult, Twilight is able to procure both a wife and daughter while assuming the identity of a psychiatrist named Lloyd Forger. Unbeknownst to Twilight, his new family members have secrets of their own. His new bride is a deadly assassin, and his adopted daughter is a telepath. This manga is the perfect mixture of comedy, action, romance, and slice of life themes. There's a little bit for everyone in this series, and I feel confident recommending this to everyone. I really admire its unpredictable and unique storyline. From the title, you expect this generic spy story, But at its core, this is a heartwarming series about family and what it means to be a family. I really have to commend Endo Sensei's storytelling and writing because the spy stuff is really clever and engaging, while the family stuff just tugs at your heartstrings. The characters in this series are remarkable. All three MCs are fleshed out individuals. You have the cold, calculating spy who is shaping up to be a really amazing father, the formidable yet socially awkward assassin whose maternal instincts shine when interacting with Anya, and then you have Anya, the star of the show. She's just as mischievous as she is adorable, and her facial expressions are hilarious. I love her to the moon and back. The interactions between these characters are so amusing and unique, and I just love how being a forger has impacted them all positively. I thought the art was really well done. The action scenes are intense and easy to follow, while the cuter moments are tender and sweet. Like I said earlier, I think most people would like this series. It's super fun to read, and there are so many laugh out loud moments. So definitely give this a chance if you haven't yet. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Up next, I want to talk about a manga that I read way back in April, and that's the age gap romance Kiss Me at the Stroke of Midnight by Rin Mikimoto. This manga clocks in at 11 volumes, with the finale being released later this month. It follows a high school honor student named Hanana, a girl who's exceptionally hardworking but secretly dreams of being whisked away by a fairy tale prince. One day, Hanana meets the famous idol Kaede, and she realizes that he could be the prince of her dreams, even if he's a little quirky. But that's okay, because she's quirky too. This series is adorable, and Hanana and Kaede are literally soulmates. They are perfect for each other. I loved watching their relationship progress over the course of the story, and I adored seeing honest communication, respected boundaries, and consent. I think Mikimoto Sensei did an exquisite job writing the romance, and even though the relationship between the leads is a central part of the manga, it's full of other dramatic, comedic, and overall meaningful stories. I adore Kaede's character. He's a genuine and kind person, and he really cares about Hanana. He's also one of the most charming manga boys I've ever seen. He just reeks charisma. When it comes to Hanana, I feel like her and I have a lot in common, and I enjoyed being able to watch her grow and develop into a stronger person by the 11th volume. I think the artwork in this series is outstanding. It's very expressive and just really pretty. In the beginning, I wasn't a huge fan of Mikimoto Sensei's chibi characters, but they really grew on me, and they actually communicate a lot of the comedy in this series. If you like shoujo romances that put unique twists on tropes, that have healthy relationships and make you feel all giddy inside, I think you might like this one. Okay, now we are going to talk about a manga that I honestly can't really talk about, and that's Blood on the Tracks by Shuzo Oshimi. Blood on the Tracks is an ongoing series. The 12th volume was released in Japan, but there are only 7 volumes currently available in English. This psychological thriller focuses on the relationship between a mother and her son. I can't say too much about the plot because it'll ruin the shock of the story, but what I will say is that this is probably one of the most unsettling and disturbing things I've ever read. The narrative is very fast-paced and unpredictable, which heightens your anxiety and fear while reading. It's impossible to know what's going to happen next, and what's truly terrifying is that at this point in the story, anything, and I mean anything, could happen. Also, the gaslighting is just next level. This is truly a marvel in the psychological horror genre. I don't think this type of story would be as horrifying if it weren't for Oshimi Sensei being a master at drawing emotion and insanity. His facial expressions and his close-ups are incredibly well drawn. You can see the muscles being strained in the character's expressions, and his ability to communicate fake emotions, like when a character is fake laughing or smiling, it just makes your skin crawl. Now, this series won't be for everyone. It deals with disturbing subject matter, including physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, so keep that in mind before trying it out. Also, it's extremely addictive. Every volume ends with a cliffhanger, and I recommend having a couple manga on hand before starting the series. You'll thank me later. This next series is one of the best yaoi I've ever read, and that's Dick Fight Island by Raven Ike. There's currently one volume available in English, with the second volume being released in March. In this universe, there are 8 clans, and every 4 years, each clan chooses a warrior to represent them in the tournament that decides their next king. Champions are paired off and battle one-on-one, aka they manhandle each other until someone reaches climax. If you ejaculate, you lose. This manga is wild and definitely wins the title for most wacky manga I've ever read, but I love it so much, and I think you will too. With a name like Dick Fight Island, it's hard to know what to expect beyond the obvious. You know it's going to be silly, you know it's going to be graphic, but what's surprising is how the plot is actually really interesting and well written. The world building is well done, and learning about the clans and their lore was a lot of fun. There's a huge cast of characters in this manga, but they all have distinctive features and personalities. I really loved the characters' designs, plus the dick armor designs and unique fighting styles from each of the characters was super entertaining and just hilarious. The heartwarming and romantic subplots are really tender. You find yourself becoming invested in the characters. Additionally, there's a bunch of character development and growth that was just simply unexpected. Lastly, the illustrations in this are stunning. The characters are drawn beautifully, the action scenes are tasteful and very erotic. I was surprised at how uncentered the graphics are in this compared to other yaoi I've read. This series is definitely worth the hype. It's hilarious, sweet, and spicy. Just an overall insane amount of fun. Up next is a series that just blows me away in terms of quality in both the writing and the illustrations, and that's A Bride's Story by Kaoru Mori. This ongoing series has been in production for some time, with the first volume debuting in Japan in 2009. There are currently 12 volumes available in English, with the 13th releasing in early March. This manga actually jumps between multiple characters and narratives, chronicling the everyday lives of different brides and their families throughout different parts of Central Asia. However, the primary storyline follows Amir, a 20-year-old woman from a nomadic tribe whose family arranges for her to wed a 12-year-old boy named Karluk. Apart from watching Amir navigate her new life and surroundings, the series follows a traveling European scholar named Mr. Smith, who sets off to explore other regions, their communities, customs, and culture, therefore allowing readers to witness the rural and nomadic life of other brides along the Silk Road. Including the main plot, there are about 6 different storylines introduced in this series, and as the storyline evolves, they begin to twist and collide into each other. My favorite storyline is still Karluk and Amir though. Their romance has been innocent and non-sexual thus far, but not entirely void of love. They truly care about each other, and it's so sweet to watch them grow and develop as individuals and as a couple. A Bride's Story serves as an educational documentary as well as a beautiful collection of stories. It feels extremely authentic and exceptionally well researched. Mori-sensei just has a way of injecting cultural and historical information into the story without it feeling jarring or taking away from the narrative and the characters. The illustrations are intricate and spectacular. Everything is exceptionally well drawn. The landscapes, architecture, costumes, food, the characters, and even the animals come to life on the page. It's breathtaking and mind-boggling. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on this series, I recommend you check out my spoiler-free review on A Bride's Story. I'll leave a link on the screen and in the description below. Overall, this is an impressive piece of literature and art. It's definitely worth picking up in 2022. The volumes are on the more expensive side. As you can see, though, they are beautiful hardcover editions. If you haven't yet, you need to read this. The second last manga that I want to talk about is the award-winning series After the Rain by Jun Meizuki. The entire series is available in English in this omnibus format, and there are 5 volumes to collect. At a glance, After the Rain is a taboo romance series about a 17-year-old high school girl named Akira who falls in love with her 45-year-old boss, Masumi. However, this summary inaccurately describes the series, and it sucks because I know this manga has probably lost readers because of this misunderstanding. But I'm here to tell you that this series is actually a unique, realistic, complex, and poignant coming-of-age tale. It isn't an age gap romance. Both Masumi and Akira find a connection because they were both forced to surrender their dream and have lost something integral to themselves. These characters are facing a crossroads and end up helping each other in unexpected ways. I think the messages in this story are meaningful and touch on important things, such as seeking solace in escapism, missing out on youth, facing your fears, and living life without regrets. Both Akira and Masumi are multi-dimensional characters whose personalities feel truly authentic and realistic. Like, these characters could be real people in real life. Furthermore, the supporting characters and the side stories are also well developed and fleshed out. As for Meizuki Sensei's art style, it's delicate and reminds me of art styles in older shoujo manga like Sailor Moon or Mars. Meizuki Sensei communicates a lot of the storytelling through the illustrations. His art is just super expressive, and these panels that are free of dialogue were some of my favorite moments in the series. Overall, this is a very touching and relatable series. It's the type of series that'll hit you differently depending on your age and where you're at in life. I got very emotional in the last volume. It's an unsurprisingly beautiful and bittersweet conclusion to this series. I will treasure this series always and urge you to give it a shot in 2022. The last manga, and my favorite series of 2021, is the shoujo series Living Room Matsunaga-san by Keiko Iwashita. There are 11 volumes in this series, and although it's finished in Japan, only 9 volumes have been released in English. Essentially, Living Room Matsunaga-san is about a 17-year-old high school girl named Miko who moves into a boarding house with 5 other roommates, all of whom are working adults. The manga follows Miko as she discovers her independence and transitions into her new life and new responsibilities, all with the help of her new roommates. One of the tenants, however, always takes special care in making sure Miko feels at home, and that's grumpy Jun Matsunaga. At first, Miko Miko sees him as this blunt and cranky character, but she notices Matsunaga-san is actually very kind, and the more she gets to know him, the harder it is to ignore her budding feelings. I love everything about this manga. It combines my favorite manga tropes with my ideal character types and entwines them into this adorable age gap romance story. I always experience this euphoric feeling when I read this manga. I get so giddy and giggly and red-faced while reading this. Plus, the rereadability is astonishing, at least for me. I read these volumes multiple times after receiving them. I sometimes read the volume, then go back and reread it after just finishing it. I'm genuinely obsessed. I just can't get enough. The characters make my heart melt. They are beautifully developed and relatable. Jun makes my heart throb every time he's on the page. He's just so blunt and cool. I love him so much. The story itself is the perfect balance of humor, cutesy, innocent fun, and mature themes. Plus, you can tell a lot of thought and care goes into the narrative. There's a lot of healthy communication, and the age gap is handled in a respectful and tactful way. I adore the art. It's super clean, it's expressive, the character designs are attractive and modern. The overall atmosphere of this series is just refreshing, and if you're someone who loves shoujo romances but also doesn't mind age gap stories, I highly, highly, highly recommend you check this out. And with that, we have come to the end of my 2021 top 10 manga list. I hope you have a chance to check them out in 2022 if you so choose. What were some of your favorite manga from 2021? Let me know in the comment section below. If you're interested in watching more videos from me, you can check out my end card where I'll have links to my most recent videos. I hope you all have a manga-nificent day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!